Welcome to Decker Tech. Today's deck is Story of Doom. So right now, the Ikoria spoilers are going on, and I am polling my patrons to decide what decks I am building right out of the gates for Ikoria, the first decks I build. So if you want to be a patron and kind of vote on the decks I do, go ahead and check that out. The link is in the description to my Patreon. Now, right now, Stories of Doom. It is all about sagas, which we like sagas, and Doom Foretold, which we're actually going to keep this. We'll see how this goes. Brought Back is one we're trying out. A very, very new thing. It allows us to, if we have to sack, like all our sagas sack on our turn at the beginning of whatever. Ooh. We want some interaction, or do we want to get to Doom Foretold right out? We already got Elspeth's Nightmare, so we'll go for Doom Foretold right away. We need another land. So the brought back, like if Elspeth's Nightmare goes to its final chapter, we could brought back to bring it back to do its chapter again. If we have to ever sack anything with a Doom Foretold trigger and a saga goes off, we can get both of them back with brought back. So it requires a board state to do anything, but when it does something, it should do a lot. Like I said, we haven't actually played with it yet. We like Aphemia much better than the, what do we put on bottom? Final Payment. Are they going to hate our hand? Looks like the kind of person that's going to hate our hand. Shock something in just to give them something to think about. Play into the, hopefully it's just a growth spiral. Yep. So what are we worried about them? We're worried about a Nissa, I think is one of our first threats they have against us. Sultai value, so Nissas, Uros, sometimes a Plukernos. What else? Next we can play Doom, and then on our version, our trigger of Doom, we can sack the Blessing. So it is going to be an Uro, it looks like. So we might not play the Doom Foretold right away. We could play a Mystic and a Nightmare. I don't think we're going to hit anything with the Nightmare, but we could at least duress him and then play a couple of Dooms the turn after. I think that might be the play pattern. Just lose some life doing things. Lose some more life. Look at the nice board state for our Doom to start working with. I guess we don't play two Dooms next turn, but we'll play Doom and we'll hold up a brought back. Unless he gets rid of the Mystic. The Mystic is the thing he should get rid of. If you ever see it going against this deck, Starfield Mystic, strongest card. Aphemia the Cacophony, coolest card. Okay, so if we Doom him, what is he going to get back? Just another Cavalier. Hey, those are our Dooms. We get to duress you. And discards it. Ugh, so if we're going to allow him to Casualties of War us. Oh, this is no cool. So we gotta get rid of the Casualties of War. But now the problem is if we play Doom, he gets the Casualties of War back. So are we more afraid, like... So we'll do the Doom. Or Casualties of War, I mean. Now, do we play the Doom? Probably play the Doom. And then we have brought back to actually, you know, do the thing. So it has reach. I'm an idiot. Oh, I've done that so many times. Oh, the Cavalier needs to have a flying thing. Oh, so bad. Could have had a zombie. Casualties of War comes back and he Casualties of Wars us. Okay, so we're going to start this match off straight with a misplay. Okay, if he targets one of our lands, we have to make sure we tap it for white. Because if we keep the Doom Foretold, we're sacking the Treacherous Blessing, so it's kind of a big deal. So do we want to land or these two? We want these two. Hello. So we misplayed. He misevaluated our brought back. It all worked out in the end. Everyone just feels bad about the game pattern. Doom was going to resolve. All he was going to do was discard a card. He was going to have a big Hydroid Crisis. I think that was an early concession. Alright. We don't like Doom. We don't like Casualties of War. We don't like Hydroid Crises. He has big creatures, so Final Pain's pretty good. Both Akai's a little less so. So Crasises, Uros, Cavaliers. We want to Agonize Remorse the Cavaliers early. And we want to get rid of the Casualties of War with Duress. I think Brock Back is still going to work good for this deck. The Elspeth's Nightmare is just a slow Duress. So get rid of the Nightmare. Maybe bring in the Archon of the Falling Stars. Or the Banishing Lights. What are we banishing with Banishing Light? The Cavaliers. Problem is he blows up the Banishing Lights, gets Cavalier effect back. Oof. That could be rough. That could be rough. But I think it's still Banishing Light. Maybe the Archons. What else are we taking out? I don't know if we Wrath and Shatter. Problem is he's on the play. He might get ahead of us, but he's got few big threats, not lots of little threats, and so I think we can keep him under control. Elspeth Conquers Death is good. Pairs with the Archon pretty well too. Those just start getting each other back and forth. Timurit Calls the Dead might not be good enough, but it is one of our aggro cards, but we're not going to be very aggro-y this game. So is there anything out? Maybe one Wrath and get rid of the Timurit altogether? I don't like that, but we're doing it. Oh, screw the Wrath. Get a Timurit. I want a second Timurit and one less Banishing Light. There we go. I feel better about that. Alright, so now is a good time that if you don't like my choices of sideboarding or you have comments about my opponent conceding suddenly, now is a good time to go ahead and comment below. Give us an idea of your thoughts of how we should have sideboarded or why it was bad for our opponent to concede or what we should have done when we screwed up with that Aphemia. Like, it was the moment I attacked, I was like, oh no, wait. Like, I was just going through the motions. I was like, okay, we have a clear attack. No, we don't. You just gotta always remember your board state. Reach, I wish actually had some sort of animation, just like a kind of different border on the creature, kind of like Flyers Fly and stuff like that. But that is what it is, and I misplayed that. It's also something you're likely to do in paper too. It'd be like, oh, I attack. And it's like, but normally with your in paper, you can be like, hey, do you have any fly blockers? And they're like, check. Like they'll tell you no, and they'll be a liar. Like, or in which case you can do all sorts of things. Or they say, yes, I have reach. Or, oh no, figure it out yourself. And you're like, okay, fine, let me read all your cards. And it just reminds you to read all your cards. So, in paper, I personally remember to read my opponent's cards a lot more. On Arena, I kind of get into the thing. I think our opponent straight up conceded and raged and just left. Like, that brought back. We're keeping this video just to show that brought back does work. Like, so I misplayed with the Aphemia. I could have kept Aphemia and had a zombie. He does this Casualties of War thing. He exiled his, like, we doomed his Cavalier. He bought back the Casualties of War. And then he's just like, I Casualties of War all your stuff. And I'm like, cool, I get 2 of it back. So, pretty sweet. Also, Doom Foretold he left on the board, so we would have sacked our Treacherous Blessing. So we wouldn't have been taking damage anymore. So that's a nice interaction. I'll probably just do my end speech here because I'm pretty sure he raged. If you like this video, please share it. Growing the channel is the best thing we can do right now. That'll allow me to do more content. And what I'd like actually is some feedback of what content you'd like to see. Right now I got a whole whiteboard full of things that can be done if this channel grows. And some of those are things like the math behind deck building and the way card chances work and just simple ways to figure that out and understand that. I have things about parity and drafting. I've got things about the 3 different parts of a deck of card advantage, tempo, and mana, tempo, and cards advantages, and how certain decks play into those different ways, and how to build decks around those 3 different types of decks. So if you want to see any more of that content, please share this, And yeah, have fun, y'all. Peace.